All right, so Coach Mochi and I are going to demonstrate some of the pitfalls and some useful directions, notes to think about in Chaturanga. Go ahead and make your way into plank pose. So firstly, we're going to talk about what tends to happen. You can put the knees down just to save some energy. Oftentimes when yogis are lowering toward Chaturanga, the elbows will splay sideways. So go ahead and just demo. All right, and then we kind of just collapse down. Sometimes the hips drop to the floor. We want to have those elbows hugging in and the hips lifted on that lower. Go ahead and press up. The next thing that tends to happen when the elbows hug in is that they bend backwards. So go ahead and lower. And go ahead, yeah, you can take the elbows backwards as you lower, yep. All right, this can put excess pressure on the wrist because that knuckle of the index finger tends to lift when we do this. Go ahead, press up again. All right, the preferred position is move the shoulders beyond the fingers. Go ahead. We're going to keep the elbows mostly stacked over the wrists as we lower, and the shoulders remain lifted. Okay, the hips remain lifted, and then press up. All right, so those are some of the more common pitfalls for newer students. Now we're going to gain more clarity into the shoulder blade positioning, which is similar to plank, except harder to sustain in this bent arm position. All right, so go ahead and come into profile, actually, just seated profile. All right, so go ahead and reach the arms forward. So this is that protracted plank. Okay, Chaturanga is the same, except bend the elbows. Good. Naturally, look what happens when he bends the elbows. The shoulder blades lift off the back a little bit. Some people call that winging. To counter that energy, we press the front ribs in. Okay? What just happened is the front of his shoulders fell forward, which can, for some people who don't have the bicep strength to keep themselves lifted, lead to sinking in the front of the shoulders when we're lowering from plank to Chaturanga. Let's just show people what I mean there. So go ahead and come into plank pose. And then as you lower, go slow and then find that part where it's easy and then just collapse kind of in that part where you don't have to use your strength to hold yourself up anymore. There you go. Okay, and then oftentimes walk your feet in a little. I'll also see this kind of teepee butt as the shoulders drop. Go ahead, relax. That can lead to what's called a repetitive strain injury. So if you're someone who, when you lower to Chaturanga, you have to sink into the front of the shoulders, I'm going to recommend retracting, drawing the shoulder blades together. So go ahead and come to profile again. So when he squeezes the shoulder blades together, go ahead, pull them in. These muscles are engaged and the front of the shoulder is lifted. This would be the floor, away from the floor, rather than go ahead, protract. When the shoulder heads are more likely to sink toward the floor. Plank pose again. Okay, so now we're going to retract the shoulder blades. So keeping this part lifted, and you lower toward Chaturanga. Awesome. So we have the shoulder blades drawn together, and then we can also, there's a third variation, split the difference. Push these muscles up more, good. And now the shoulder blades are just about an inch off the back, the way they would be if you were standing upright, except he needs a lot more strength to sustain it. Go ahead, relax. All right, so we have the protract, the retract, and the split the difference. All right. For those who want to work toward a protracted position in the shoulder blades, go ahead, come into plank pose. You want to practice coming into your plank position here, and then rather than going all the way to Chaturanga, you can do a taller Chaturanga. So the focus isn't getting low, the focus is keeping these muscles engaged, chest forward, keeping these muscles engaged, and then just bend your elbows 2 inches. Keep this lifted though. Yes. Bend them another inch. Keep this lifted and move your shoulder elbows forward. Good. Lift the center of the chest up. Lift up from here, from here, from here, from here. Yep. And push all the way up. And relax. So there you have your tall Chaturanga. Lots of options. You give it a try.